We made it. We made it.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Is everybody in here? Just waiting for people. I don't see our
Room's
regulars.
empty.
Oh, there we go. There we
Oh
go.
my God.
Get
I've
some
got to blow my
people. Yeah.
nose. It's one of those
Yeah,
situations.
do that.
Yeah?
Do that. The last thing we need for this FiveStack to include is you sending the big noodle south in the middle of it. Yeah.
You know, it's been a bit of an eventful start here, so I'm going to just mute myself for a second and just get myself together, as it were.
Yeah. No, you.
And,
You
and
take
then,
care of both quadrants of those nostrils.
yeah, and you do what you need to do, sir.
I will.
And what
Welcome
you do
to the
so well.
FiveStack. Yeah, everybody. That is Zev Shalev. He is blowing his nose. We had an adventure getting on today. Yeah, sometimes there's a ghost in the machine, and you know what you do? You do your very best with it, and you use the reality that is presented to you to make the best possible decision. So here we are yet again. Zev Shalev, narrative.org. Go and give him a sub today. We'll get into what he's got for you at narrative.org all weekend in just a few minutes. My name is Dean Blundell. You can get me at deanblundell.substack.com. And to my friend Zev Shalev's point, we have a very busy day today and a bit of an announcement. Well, a huge announcement. And we need your help. And we'll get to that today as well. We also had our friend Lev Parnas literally feed Scott Jennings his fucking broken cosplaying MAGA,
Oh my gosh.
black-hearted pedophile protecting soul on CNN last night. Where do you want to start today?
You know, let's talk a little bit about Lev.
Let's
talk about Lev,
friend.
because
Yeah, sure.
I've not watched CNN for a long time. And I don't really watch CNN. It's not really my go-to. I don't really think of them as a news operation, as, you know, they are, but they're particularly troubled in some ways. I could not believe the amount of ads they have in an hour of programming. It was like, how are you meant to have any good, thorough debate with, 15 minutes of ads in an hour of news content? It is a travesty that there is no commercial-free news in America except for the PBS NewsHour. It is, and what you're watching right now, almost commercial-free, but commercial-free for an hour. It's
brought to you by ground.news/FiveStack for 40% off your daily news.
Yeah, but they're not, they're not, medication for people or whatever it is that was shilling on.
We're not selling you Ozempic or a litany of legal solutions for your life. We're not trying to convince you that, this country's great and that country's bad. And we're not taking dark money from people going, Biden was crippled when he left the office. We don't do that. But CNN, to your point, and you know what I noticed too? I hadn't watched CNN for probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so, shocked to me that Lev was on the Abby Phillips show, because the last time I watched CNN, she was like a reporter. And she's got her own show and has for a couple of years now. Apparently,
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea.
Obviously, gets a lot of attention. I mean, CNN is so dead because they're so bad. But anyhow, Lev did a great job considering the circumstances. So this is like a viper pit. They put them all into around one little table, and they're like yell at each other for 15 minutes. And we're going to go to commercial break, and then yell at each other for the 15 minutes, and that'll be the show. And maybe we'll get numbers out of that, and they wonder why their rankings are so terrible and their ratings are so terrible, because Lev couldn't get a word in the whole way through. It was so annoying.
But when he did, he absolutely undressed Scott Jennings twice, and it was fucking beautiful. But to your point, it's like Crossfire, but it's like Crossfire in the upside down. I watched that last night. And we have clips, I imagine, that we're going to play for people.
We have one clip here. We can play that. Should we?
Yeah. But I watched that last night. We'll play it in just a second. Yeah. Couple things that struck me. One is treating anything that comes out of Scott Jennings or any talking point out of MAGA like it's a legitimate idea. That never used to happen on CNN. Right? They're like, oh, Scott, what do you think? No one gives a fuck what Scott Jennings thinks.
Yeah.
He's just repeating MAGA talking points because Lev points out in this clip, he's literally auditioning to be the next press secretary when MAGA Barbie Caroline Levitt spits out her spawn of Satan that she's having with the 90-year-old real estate guy she's married to. No word of a lie. He's like 90. Anyway, I want to play you this clip, and I want you to watch Scott Jennings' elitist MAGA eye roll as Lev is just talking about growing up in the Soviet Union. Here's the clip.
One of the things that has, I think, riled up the Minnesotan community so much, a woman apparently walking in her neighborhood stopped and pressed to prove her citizenship or not even to prove her citizenship, to prove whether she was born in the United States, which doesn't necessarily indicate if you were a citizen. That's just one example of what has been going on in Minneapolis.
I mean, yeah, I mean, to me, it's like PTSD. I mean, remembering growing up in the Soviet Union back in 89, 90, going back there and then watching, basically, you couldn't walk the streets without being pulled over by the police asking you for your documentation. And now we're seeing the same thing play out here. I mean, he's getting his great rules and learning from the best Putin, you know, and he's following in his footsteps. I know Scott doesn't like it, but he's auditioning for Caroline Levitt's job. You know, when she leaves, he's gonna be the next press secretary.
Well, let me just first say, and I know you.
One of the things.
I mean, there's, you know, good for him.
Did you see? And Scott's like Lev is telling him about how he grew up in the Soviet Union under the iron fucking fist of the communist empire of the Soviet Union 50 fucking years ago. And there's Jelly Roll Scott fucking Jennings, beta cuck, rolling his eyes because he's never experienced anything remotely like that in his life. Rolling his eyes. Oh, fuck. And he did it the whole time. And to Lev's point, I talked to Lev. We did a quick Substack live earlier, half an hour, just from the hotel room. Like, what the fuck happened last night? Lev said Scott not only rolled his eyes every time he said something, he refused to look at him during the show. And he said he refused to acknowledge him or look at anybody between commercial segments, which, as you pointed out, lasted about 25 minutes each. So what a fucking, pardon my language, everybody. I'm going to go Dean 1.0 here with this. Scott Jennings, you are a pussy.
Lev Parnas got a badge of approval there from CNN's GOP guy because, you know, who wants that guy to look at you? But he obviously has disdain for what Lev has been doing, which is, you know, fighting for the American democracy and fighting for the Constitution. And the eye-rolling thing, it's so juvenile. And this is what television is like today in the news business. It's like, oh, can I put on an expression on my face of disdain? Because that'll make a news headline or that'll become a meme or something. But did they actually talk about anything that was of substance? Did I get anything out of there except for that really good point that Lev made at the beginning? Made another one about Venezuela that was really good. But beyond that, it's really hard to penetrate because everyone just starts yelling at each other. That other one that was there, the woman who was talking about Renee Good's, the shooting about Renee Good.
Brianna Lyman?
Yeah.
Brianna Lehman?
The guy, that she accelerated into the police officer, into the ICE officer. No, he didn't. No, she didn't. She did not. And she,
dude, but that's all the Brianna Lyman, Scott Jennings, any MAGA loving talking head that you hear try to present what we know to be clearly fact, that any fact. It could be Renee Good's murder. It could be Donald Trump forcing. I watched ICE literally beat a guy fucking senseless today. There's a clip of it going around. I'm going to post it on a clip. He's completely fucking limp, and they're still beating him. And then they just dragged him along the fucking cold Minnesota streets. This is about 2 hours ago. And Scott Jennings is like, well, we got to get rid of the criminals. But here's the thing that Scott Jennings will never talk about, is that 4% of every person that's been arrested, detained, beaten, tortured by ICE goons in the last calendar year, 4% have been illegal criminals. 4%. 4 fucking percent. 4%. So when Scott Jennings rolls his eyes, that's because Lev is speaking the fucking truth, and Scott Jennings can't stand the truth because Scott Jennings is a fucking Donald Trump ball-licking, boot-sucking, MAGA cosplaying fucking proxy. That is all he is, and he's just auditioning for a fucking audience of one every single time he goes on CNN. And one more thing I'll say about CNN. What a fucking disaster that fucking television station has turned into. What a goddamn disaster. To co-sign, even just as a fucking point of conversation, to co-sign anything that comes out of Brianna Lehman's mouth. And last night, sitting next to Lev, she's like, every country around the United States serves at our pleasure. And Scott Jennings is like, you goddamn right. And Brianna's like, you know it. And then everybody at the table is like, what the fuck are you talking about? The fact that CNN platforms that as a legitimate perspective is all you need to know. Cancel your fucking CNN subscription today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that tear gassing story as well is a big story that's developing today. A different one than the one you're talking about, but a Minneapolis couple was driving home from their kids' basketball game on Wednesday night, 6 kids in the car. The youngest is just 6 months old. They get caught between ICE protesters in North Minneapolis. They tried, between ICE and protesters, I should say, in Minneapolis. They tried to turn around. The ICE surrounded them. One agent told them to leave, but more agents blocked them in. They just blocked them in while they were traveling. Then they started lobbing tear gas and stun grenades at them. A canister rolled under the car. Imagine this with your kids inside the car. The blast set off the airbags. It smoke filled the vehicle. The kids are screaming. It's a nightmare, really a nightmare for any family. And this is not a family that was involved in the protests or anything. They were just driving through. They were just driving home, and they're getting the entire family tear gassed. And that's the kind of scene we're seeing across America, but especially in Minneapolis in the last few days.
Yeah, you know, and a little extra story that you can attach to that story is after they tear gassed and flashbang this family vehicle coming back from an elementary school basketball game with 6 kids in the back, including a 6-month-old. The mother had to be taken to the hospital. She received injuries, smoke inhalation, et cetera, et cetera. Father seemed okay, but all 6 kids were hospitalized, and the 6-month-old stopped breathing for about a minute and a half because of all the noxious fumes that came from the tear gas and the flashbangs that they literally shot and threw at this family vehicle, just trying to fucking get home. And Scott Jennings rolls his eyes at that.
Yeah. Because this guy, this is the father, right? He's now kicking the door open with his kids in the car. He can't see anything. He's blinded by the tear gas. He's choking, and they start pulling the kids out of the car because the airbags have activated. They've got no place to go. The baby is now trapped in the car seat, not sure if he's going to start breathing again. And then, this is just playing out in real time for these people as bystanders did CPR on the 6-month-old while others poured milk on the other kids to neutralize the gas. And, the baby came back before the EMTs got there. But still, 3 kids went to the hospital. 2 of them have severe asthma. This is about as awful a look as you can imagine for this already traumatized and already horrifically conceived of ICE organization. They've been running around this town with their tear gas, their flashbangs, the pepper balls. It's causing chaos.
Yeah. Donald Trump's a fucking pig. Little known fact that about 54% of the ICE roster is made up of, and I said this the other day, this has now been borne out, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, militia, racists, people from different white supremacist groups that have applied, gotten the 50 grand and gotten in, even though they haven't passed or vetted any kind of psychological test or criminal background. These are just people that want to beat the shit out of Black people, brown people, Hispanic people. They just want to beat the shit out of immigrants. They don't give a fuck. Yeah. And then 2 days ago, Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio, who was, I believe, sentenced to about 13 years of hard time prior to Trump's pardon, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was a big sentence. It seemed like it was a really big sentence. I don't know if it was 13, but it might have been. Yeah.
He announced yesterday on social media that he had now joined ICE. He's now an official ICE officer. Enrique Tarrio, one of the leaders of the Proud Boys, one of the guys who, with Mr. Rhodes and Bannon and Roger Stone, helped cook up January 6th, the insurrection that killed several people, maimed and injured dozens of police officers, and completely engineered by Donald Trump and his proxies like Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Alex Jones, what's his name? What the fucking guy's name? What's that? Bannon Jones. Stone. Roger Stone. And Enrique Tarrio just announced yesterday that he is joining his brothers and sisters to go after people that want to make America a shithole. He's a part of ICE. So don't question whether or not these guys are just being paid to do a job. They love this shit. Every single member of ICE that filled that family's vehicle with tear gas, noxious fumes from flashbangs, that effectively killed a 6-month-old for I don't know how long till they were able to bring her back, scaring the shit out of a whole family, sending 6 children to hospital just to see if the people in the car weren't American. They love this. They got to beat a black family. They got to hurt a black family. ICE got to do what in their hearts and souls they signed up to do, which was hurt human beings that are a different color or from a different country. And they all are fucking jacked up like fucking hyenas to do it.
Yeah. You know, Enrique Tarrio is a thug. I mean, he's an insurrectionist.
He's a
He
pussy.
should have been. He should be in jail. That's where he should be. You know, he has been doing Donald Trump's dirty work for him before the second term, and now he's inside the actual administration. He's inside there as part of ICE. I mean, this is like a, you know.
So is Stuart Rhodes, by the way. Stuart Rhodes is also an ICE commander.
So they're going to do this like celebrity edition of ICE. You know, it's going to be like, let's see how tough we can be, or how cruel we can be, or how violent we can be. And they'll plaster it all over news channels, and they'll make this like a reality show gone wild for this administration in order to convince half the country that the country needs some stabilization, and the rest of the country that everything's gone, you know, that everything's gone crazy, and they got to stay at home because they can't protest or do anything else. You know, this is what ICE does when they introduce this kind of force under authoritarian rule. It's designed to quell everybody, to push everyone into their corners. No one can do protesting. No one can speak their mind. It's the theme of the day. I wrote about it in the narrative, the newsletter today, that there is just so much suppression and so much movement in an aggressive way towards the Insurrection Act. We'll get to that later. But this is where we're going. I mean, people need to look around, and if they think this is going to be dialed back, I don't think it will. I think this is here, and it's here to stay, because there is no other option for the Trump administration right now. The only way they survive is through the Insurrection Act, and that's why they're doing this.
Yeah, it's it. It's literally that flashbang incident we just talked about, where the family was caught in. Do you know how many protesters were there? Because I do.
I mean,
50. You know how many ICE officers are there? Over 100.
Yeah.
It's not like those guys that are protesting for the rights of people in Minnesota that were beaten, tear gassed, along with that family and sent 6 children to hospital. This is shortly after they shot a Venezuelan through his fucking front door.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, and then lied and claimed after that he ran after them in his own front yard with a broomstick and a shovel. His wife posted the video. He got shot through the fucking door. They're now shooting people through doors.
I mean,
they're now flashbang and tear gassing families in minivans coming back from school basketball games. They don't give a fuck. And I go back to this all the time. Look at the chemical makeup, the personnel makeup of who ICE is. They're all racist. They're all a bunch of fucking quislings. They're all a bunch of fucking low IQ militia, former Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and the worst of the worst that were libertarian, and Donald Trump has somehow convinced them. And you know what? Here's the fucking great part. You just understand the character of an individual that would join an organization and go and whoop some migrant or black person or person of color ass. They have to come from somewhere. They don't just appear out of thin air. And there was a leak that Ross Story published the other day, and someone else published it, 4,500. They named 4,500 different police officers, 124 ICE officers named, because that's the key, right? They go around in anonymity. They're pussies. They wear the masks like the Patriot Front and the Proud Boys did. They run around chanting, you know, doing the things that the fucking Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers did prior to January 6th. And the real interesting aspect of this is that, you know, in a conversation that I had with a friend of mine who keeps tabs on fascism and Nazis and those militia groups, enrollment in the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys has plummeted like 75%.
Well,
where the fuck did they go? I'll tell you where they went. They went to Minnesota this last week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly who's filling the ranks of ICE. You know, the other thing is what we're seeing in public and what they're doing to people on the streets of Minnesota. But there's also what's going on behind the scenes. You know, there's a story out of El Paso County medical examiner who's now saying they're preparing to rule as a homicide the case of one person that was in ICE detention.
Death,
yeah. Who was choked to death, who was basically saying, I can't breathe, according to the recording and according to what other people were saying, like George Floyd did. And they said he was trying to commit suicide. ICE still says he was trying to commit suicide, when clearly he was murdered.
You know what you do when someone's in real distress trying to kill themselves is you choke them to death first, right?
Well, that's what they would do. I mean, obviously they were strangling this person to death. We've now had 4 deaths in captivity in ICE this year in the first 10 days, I think. Plus,
no. We're at 11. I just did the tally this morning. 11 detention deaths at the hands of ICE this year.
I mean, it's 11.
11. Yeah.
Deaths
Yeah, we
sure?
had six in the first 2 weeks, 4 this last week. Yeah, one in Georgia as well.
Well, these are death squads. These are death camps that they're putting them in. These are this is not
concentration camps.
Yeah.
Is what they are. Yeah,
and they have complete impunity. They can do whatever they want and are doing whatever they want. If they commit a crime, Trump will be there for them, give them complete immunity. Nothing is going to happen to them. There's nothing happened to the murderer of Renee Good, a guy named Jonathan Ross. We are. This is real. And I wrote this today. I don't know how to. This is not what we've been doing up until now, which is performative and looks like tyranny but isn't tyranny. This is tyranny. It's here. It's in the streets of America. The next thing he wants to do is invoke the Insurrection Act and send the military in. And we'll talk about that later on. But let's be clear about what that looks like. It involves tanks on the streets. It involves checkpoints. It involves the military everywhere you turn. It involves curfews. It involves every single move you make being monitored. I mean, that's where we're heading in this insurrection world. So that is just reality. And it's not impacting people overseas. It's not impacting people on the border or immigrants. It's impacting every American in their homes. And that's crucial that people understand that we've crossed that divide into something very dark and very sinister.
I'll tell a story about Canada just to kind of liken it back to what you're saying, just to solidify the point that America is an idiocracy. It's also an authoritarian dictatorship that beats, maims, kills its own citizens who don't like the president, who don't like the leadership for speaking up. They've destroyed basic human rights, fundamental human rights, and absolutely wiped the First Amendment out of the Constitution. So Canada did a massive trade deal. Is that on the docket today?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
Oh, is that coming next?
We've got a good conversation coming on that one. It's coming later.
Okay. Canada did a massive deal with China, and I'll explain it to everybody when we get to the topic. But
we can do it now.
Go ahead.
Do it now. We'll just do it now.
What number is this?
It was number 3. This will be number 4 instead.
It's number 4. This is number 4 now.
Okay.
So Canada signed a massive, like a world-beating, world-changing trade deal with China yesterday. Mark Carney announced it last night. We got the tip 2 days before that, so we wrote a piece. You can go to deanblundell.com, deanblundell.substack.com to check it out. And so the next day, sure enough, Canada announces that we have a huge, huge trade partnership with China. Huge. And I put out the tweet, put out the post, and some friends of mine, Canadian friends of mine, who will go unnamed today because I do like them. They're nice people. Generally speaking, I will sauce you if I don't like you, and if I like you, I won't. So these are nice people that are like real. Yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck. I still have that inner demon. I like to get after it. I don't have a problem with it. Lev and I are very similar that way. Same with Schmidt. We've got a dark inner animal that likes to get after people.
Yeah.
And a couple of friends said, you're crazy. Now we're working with a communist dictatorial government and we're doing business with them instead of the United States. And I'm like, hold on. And I did the comparison exercise I did with you yesterday. Who are we going to do business with? The United States, according to every available statistic, is more of a fucking dictatorial authoritarian country today than China. Let me repeat that. The United States is more of a dictatorial authoritarian country today than China.
I don't think so.
Oh yes, sir. Every available major statistic would dictate. Do you know how many concentration camps America has? I do. 19. Guess how many China has? 4.
Well, we don't know really what goes on.
We don't know because they lie, but they got 4.
Yeah.
Are they going after people because of their religious beliefs or lack thereof in China? 100%.
Yeah.
What is Donald Trump doing? He's doing the exact same thing. We're watching Americans get shot and killed for standing up against the government. Tiananmen Square comes to mind. That was 35 fucking years ago. So when we sit here and have a conversation about Donald Trump, that environment, that country, specifically in certain hotspots, is way worse than anything that's going on in China. And if he has his way, to your point, he wants to go full China, which is full-on surveillance, checkpoints everywhere, credit scores for everybody. You don't move unless I say you can, and whatever you do not speak out against the fucking regime. That is what Donald Trump wants. You know it, I know it, and this is the reason that Canada decided to do a deal with China. And by the way, that deal replaces all the oil we were supposed to send to America. They said they didn't want it. Replaces the natural gas we were going to send to America. Once again, they said we didn't want it. We're going to take a bunch of Chinese EVs. China just wiped out tariffs on every major agricultural product here in Canada. And here's the catch. Canadians today, this makes me laugh. I ain't going. Fuck, not a chance I'm going to China. You can go to China now and travel visa-free if you're from Canada.
That is terrible news on all fronts. And I'll just say your analysis is accurate to some extent, but it's also completely inaccurate because America still has a constitutional republic that is a democracy. It still has a rule of law that is independent. It has an independent judiciary which acts independently. It just does. These are things. It still has freedom of speech enshrined. It has a multi-party democracy. It has the kind of things that are changing a lot. Now, I don't know what Donald Trump is trying to do. We all know what Donald Trump is trying to do. I was raising the alarm this morning. We are heading into a tyranny, but we're not there yet. And the thing that we aspire to be that shining light and the beacon on the hill is something that's being chased away. And to replace the world leadership as Canada is doing by doing China's bidding instead of, finding ways of supporting.
How do you know China's not doing Canada's bidding?
Because I don't think that's the way the world is. I think that, China's number one or ascending to number one, and that's what's going on. I can't believe I'm actually going to say these words. I share what Doug Ford has been talking about in terms of the Chinese spy cars that he says are going to be populating Canadian streets because of this EV deal, which in fact is exactly what they are. They're going to be remote controlled out of Beijing. Who knows? If you don't trust Elon Musk's Tesla,
well, I'm not buying one.
Huh?
Only 49,000 vehicles are allowed to come in from China, and after that they get full tariff. I'm not buying one.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing, is that I'm really actually happy for the province of, and folks, we have provinces in Canada. You have states. We have a big province, agricultural province called Saskatchewan. Now, while I hate the piss-drunk premier who murdered a woman 30 years ago of Saskatchewan, when he was drunk, got off because he knew the cops, long story, and he's a total separatist and a quisling for the United States of America, I'm happy for the farmers of Saskatchewan now that the canola tariffs are off. I'm happy for pig farmers that can sell their pork. I'm happy for the potash industry and uranium industry. It's going to send that. And I'm happy for the oil and gas industry because I love my country and I love the economy of Canada. But, dude, they forced us into a corner. They forced us to go and do business with other people.
China did, yeah. China forced us into the corner.
No,
yeah,
the United
China
States
forced us into the corner. Absolutely.
No.
It's not, China has been doing economic warfare on Canada for a while. There have been a lot of attempts to increase the Chinese population in Canada. They have this United Way policy, whatever it's called.
I know. I'm from Markham, and it's like 64% Chinese.
Yeah, look,
and the rest is other.
This has been a concerted effort by the Chinese. And why are they doing it? Because they are not an Arctic nation. They consider themselves a sub-Arctic nation, but really they'd love to be in control of the Arctic, which is why they have so many vessels up there, even though they're not military vessels. They get the Russians to do all the dirty work for them in the Arctic or everywhere else around the world because they don't want to be seen as a militarized nation yet. But Canada gives them everything that they want. It gives them that Arctic waterfront that they really desire. That gives them an easy to capture government. It gives them all that farmland, that incredible farmland that they've been dying to get because China's running out of arable land to feed its people. So how great is it that they get to use Canada's farmland to feed the Chinese people, to keep that Chinese communist regime in power for even longer? The Chinese regime was in trouble a few years ago because it didn't have enough soybeans and everything else to feed their nation. Now, not the case anymore. And that's because America was holding up the Western part of the world. They're holding up the free world against China. Now we're heading into a world where there is no alternative but to China. And that's not a good thing.
Well, and this is the thing, and Mark Carney sort of laid that card on the table yesterday when he said, "Hey, listen, we did some good work here. We feel like Canada is prepared for some three words that really pissed off a lot of maggots and people that don't like China. Prepare for quote the new world order." That's how he said it.
Well,
The
that's
new
terrible. I'm not
world
ready to
order.
prepare for that. I'm not ready to concede yet. You
Well,
know?
dude, like here's the thing: if Donald Trump isn't in office, there is no need for a new world order. Donald Trump did this. You can say China backed us into a corner, but my God, we're going to go topsy-turvy in several sectoral industries, or we're going to do business with other people that Donald Trump hates. And here's the thing. He doesn't hate China. He fucking loves Xi.
Of course.
He wants to be Xi. He thinks that Xi is the
Amazing.
greatest guy in the fucking world. He licks his communist nutsack every time these guys are together. We're great friends, right? We're great friends. We're great friends. And Mark Carney didn't do that. He went over there and he did a fucking trade deal. It was a trade deal. Might be difficult for people to understand. Every democratic country in the world has trade deals with communist countries. Just fact. And with communist or authoritarian dictatorships. It's how the economy works. It needs to work like that. We all need to share in goods. We all need to share in trade, resources, luxury items, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And with Donald Trump refusing to do business with us, we had to go somewhere else to do business with other people. And you're right, dude. This is a fucking tough look. But things are not what they were 2 years ago. Alliances, the world order is not what it was 2 years ago. We're not co-signing the death of Uyghurs. We're not congratulating China.
Are we raising it? Are we raising our human rights concerns every time we go there?
What about every country that has a terrible human?
Because Canada
What
used to
about
be
every country that has a terrible fucking human rights record that we
Canada
do business with?
The country that we used to be respected around the world is the country that was going to talk about human rights all the time. Are they doing it as much anymore? No, they're not doing it as much anymore. Are they doing it in China? Absolutely not. They're not going to do it in China because they want this trade deal and they want the money that's coming from that. It's another version of selling out to the Chinese. And I know there are not very many alternatives that are better than that. But, Canada got caught in a trap and it took the easy way out. And I'd like to see, I think it's the easy way out.
Dude, you know what? I love you, but that is such an idealistic perspective. It does not work in the real world. It just doesn't. And I get it. I totally understand. Yeah. But we need to sort of change our minds because Donald Trump is a dictatorial president. Donald Trump is completely fucking off his rocker. Donald Trump and the people that have surrounded him are very fucking unserious people that are not stable when it comes to the economy of Canada. We can't do business with them. So, like Australia, like all these other countries, we swallowed hard and said, all right, we'll sell some fucking shit to China. I guess we'll do it now. The key is going to be not being dependent on China. Like the key here is going to be not being dependent on the United States because that's the fucking hard lesson that we're learning. And it's not to say we have to continue to do business and can't call out human rights violations in China. That is something that Canada has done and has a very proud history of doing. Trade is different than admonishing people for human rights violations, right? You have to trade to keep your fucking citizenry alive. You have to trade to keep your and fuck, China makes everything. They make everything. Everything in front of you right now is Chinese, from your phone to the fucking microphone. So are you going to stop doing business with China?
No, but
are you going to stop supporting a dictatorial regime? But you're going to have to get rid of everything you own.
Who supports Donald Trump? Who put Donald Trump in power? Who put him in office? Largely foreign countries that were supportive of him in getting into office.
Yeah, and the oligarchs.
The Russians, right? Russia.
Yep.
Russia acts as a proxy state for China. That's just the way it works. China can't go around the world looking all militaristic and attacking countries and doing all the stuff that it needs to do in order to gain superiority in the world because they want to seem like fair, possible world rulers. So what do? They get Russia to do all the dirty work for them. And this has been going on for a long time. Back to the Soviet days, the Russians and the Chinese were always, linked together in terms of economic and foreign policy. And it still is today. So if you're going to blame Russia for making Donald Trump happen, you can blame China for making Donald Trump happen. And that's just true. That's just the reality. And when you look at what their goals are for the next 30 years, in terms of their growth of their military, what their plans are for the Arctic, it doesn't leave any room for real democracy anywhere in the world. And that would be a real shame. It'll be a terrible day when when the world wakes up and we no longer have a single country where individuals can actually determine their own path. Not a single country will be left like that.
Yeah, I agree. The cork is out of the fucking alliance and world order bottle. So
which brings us to number 4.
Thank you. Which is really number 3, right?
Which is really number 3. The reporter was asked Donald Trump today, would you leave NATO to seize Greenland? His answer was, I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, but Greenland is very important for national security. Then he said, you found it out last week with Venezuela. Then he was asked again whether he would he go to war with NATO in order to save Greenland, in order to seize Greenland, and he refused to answer. So he is willing to go to war with NATO, so he says publicly, which I've never heard an American president say since the formation of NATO. And as troops are beginning to deploy in Greenland from Germany, France, the United Kingdom, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and the Netherlands, everyone's sending military personnel this week. Germany sent a recon team as well. Things are beginning to look very hot in Greenland, and it could be the flashpoint that people feared would happen between NATO and America. So lots happening there, and you've got a lot of news on Greenland too.
Yeah. So good time to chat about that and just kind of jump off. Yesterday, after he announced the trade deal with China, Mark Carney was asked about Greenland and Denmark, and he said unequivocally, and this has also caused a stir, and it's really pissed a lot of people off in America with the Trump regime. He effectively said, listen, we are a valued member of NATO and a brother or sister to Denmark and Greenland, and we will adhere strictly to Article 2 and Article 5, and we will do everything we can as a country and as a military to protect Greenland. And that is our obligation, and we will stick to it. That really pissed off Trump. That really pissed off all the people in the United States, because the one thing that Mark Carney does a great job of is not being pejorative when he's taking a stance against Trump. He'll just take a stance in the positive of what Canada's going to do. So there's that. Now listen, if you're asking me, Trump is going to bluff his way to doing what he did with, we're going to end the war in Ukraine in a day, and go, I was just kidding. It's being sarcastic. I think that is more than likely what will happen here. But as we know, that's what we thought about Venezuela, and he kidnapped the fucking president and took the country over, sent a bunch of private military guys from Blackwater and Halliburton down there literally to run the country. Like it's being run by a fucking company, and I shit you not. It's a techno state now, Trump's techno state. So the fact that Donald Trump wants to take over a massive landmass in Greenland for his tech brothers, for Freedom City, so he can rape, pillage that country of its giant wealth of resources, whether it's energy or rare earth, isn't off the map. Like you've got to at least think it's real. So to your point, Denmark, UK, France, Canada, a number of other NATO countries, coalition willing of the countries, are literally flooding that country as we speak. Speaking of Denmark, with military personnel for something called Operation Northern Endurance Exercises, which is, that's English / Danish / Greenlandic / NATO speak for, we're just going to go and fucking prepare. We're not even going to, there's no point in fucking talking anymore because you keep saying the same thing. So where everybody here who's watching, we've got just over 1,000 people, I think. I don't know. I don't have the counter on my thing.
1,500, yeah.
1,500. Little announcement. I am going to Greenland and Denmark next week. Now, the reason why I'm going to Greenland and Denmark this week is because there are a group of men and women from the Save America movement, not just from the Save America movement, but a group of men and women that we work with that desperately need some friendship, desperately need some allies, and they desperately need to have real media, independent media, show up to tell the actual fucking story. And that story is really easy to tell. Denmark is never going to give away Greenland. Greenland will never secede. They will never roll over. You got 57,000 people, 35,000 giant fucking rifles, and everybody's getting ready to dig in. You've got every member of NATO now coming, 31 of the 32 countries. sending support, military, financial, whatever, to Denmark for Greenland, and Denmark is at the top of the chain of command for whatever is going to happen.
Mhm.
So where you can get involved, and I'll post this a little bit later if you're watching this, is right now we're fundraising. We're paying for this ourselves. We're going with the Save America movement people. This is a lobby group, but it's also a not-for-profit lobby group that I work with. Our friend Steve Schmidt, Angela, Ken Harbaugh, Angela Rasmussen, who's not going, but Ken Harbaugh, Malcolm Nance, and myself, along with the gentleman who you might know. His name's Denver Riggleman. He will be joining us. And the goal is to join hands from Canada to the United States to Denmark to say, not only do the Americans support Denmark, we were there for Denmark in the Second World War, and we're now, the better America is now there for Denmark during whatever the fuck this is. On behalf of Canada, I'm going to do the same thing. Jacob Carsbo is going to join us, who we talked to quite a bit, to do the same thing. The entire purpose of this trip isn't just to go and grab content and go on a trip. It's fucking cold. It's in the middle of January, and I'm going to Iceland, Greenland, and Copenhagen. This is you know, I've
The
got
third one
boots on the
sounds nice. The first
Yeah.
two, it's going to be cold. Maybe Iceland
Yeah,
not so cold.
I don't know. I don't know.
You might see Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, maybe. But there is a large contingent of assholes that are currently running interference on the ground in Greenland and in Denmark. So we're going to go and try and deal with that. We're going to go and tell the Danish people that not only is America, better America, the vast majority of Americans, because Denmark doesn't know this, are fully entrenched with NATO, fully entrenched with Denmark, fully entrenched for democracy. We are absolutely going to put our lives and our money where our mouths are for Denmark, for NATO, for democracy. And we're going to show up, and we're going to show you, if the United States invades, where they're going to invade, how they're going to invade, who they're going to be bringing, because I'm going with Malcolm Nance. Malcolm Nance has those plans. And we are going to talk to the real stakeholders of Greenland and Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark, parliamentarians, Orla Jolsen, the Prime Minister. We have set up an opportunity to also go to the Arctic Command Center and have a conversation with them about what their plans are. So if you don't think this is fucking serious, I happen to know it is. Whether it's a bluff or not, Donald Trump will play this all the way to the end. And if he sees an opportunity where the people of Denmark, the citizens of Denmark, Danish intelligence and military forces, as well as Greenland and NATO are sleeping, if they're sleeping, you're fucked. So the goal is, we're going over. Now, how can you get involved? Great question. I'm going to be posting our fundraiser. I've got a PayPal account as well, and you can also join me as a founding member here at deanblundell.substack.com. I've already paid for the trip, so all I'm asking is for people to help. If you can help us, we're going to do a podcast tomorrow with Ken, Jacob, Malcolm. We're going to launch our fundraiser. But right here, just for our friends, I'm going over there for you so we can show you what's going on, so we can represent the better people of America, Canada, so we can represent democracy purposefully, so we can talk to people about Denmark and in Copenhagen. We can talk to people in Greenland. And let them know that we're here. But we also want to show you the rules of engagement. We also want to show you the battlefield. And we also want to take you behind the scenes when we get to Denmark. So if you could support us, we'd really appreciate it. Again, I'll put this out a little later on. We'll put the PayPal information in there as well. And you can also donate to the Save America movement if you go to saveamerica.org. Lovely place to do that. We've partnered with them, and I'll join you with Malcolm and the rest of the crew tomorrow, and we'll kind of take the cover or the lid off what our plans are in Denmark and Greenland and really let people in on what's going on. So it's Mission Greenland Part 2. Malcolm Nance, Jacob Carsbo, Ken Harbaugh, Denver Riggleman, myself. We've got a young man from Times Radio in London, England, who's going to be coming with us as well. So if there's an opportunity for you to help us get there, by financially supporting us, again, please, if you could purchase a founding membership, yearly membership right here at deanblundell.substack.com, that's where it will go. And if you will post the PayPal account, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I'll make sure it's in the post when we put out the FiveStack later. But everybody's going to fucking Denmark. Everybody's going to Greenland. It is packed, dude, with journalists right now. Like,
I know there's more journalists broadcasting from Greenland than there's ever been. But here's the question: is the president really back to the story itself, is the president really surprised by this? And I suspect he is. I think he's taken back by the response of Europe. And judging by his unprepared answer today and not being able to answer the question, it seems to me that they're at least caught on the back foot, and they're now reassessing their plans as to figure out whether they can, in fact, take on, part of NATO in trying to take Greenland. That rearranges all the chess pieces on the chessboard, and anything could happen from now on. I mean, if we're not talking about Greenland being a flashpoint of a NATO war between NATO countries, that changes the dynamics across the entire planet. Because what does China do? What does Russia do? It really does change everything. So it's going to be really interesting to hear what people there think as they're being sort of horse traded, their lives sort of being, turned into chaos
by other countries and other fucking
countries that have
dictators.
nothing to do with,
Yeah, well, imagine that. But dude, it would be like you and me sitting in a room giving away Lev Parnas's shit. Like it'd be like going to his house, sitting down, making ourselves a coffee with his coffee, saying, "You go sit over there." And Zev and I are going to talk about who we're just going to take over your house, okay? We don't think you're doing a good job running your house. Plus, if we're here, you feel safer. And we need it. Like, we need your house, Zev. We need it for our own personal security, Lev. And he would say, how about go fuck yourself? And we probably wouldn't make it out the door alive. But this is very different. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is saying to the people of Greenland and Denmark. You don't need it. You suck. You've only got 2 dog sleds. That's going to crush him in the end, by the way. Because Danish intelligence, Danish military, they're not going over there to fucking play paintball.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Russia does in that context. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. The number 2 story on the countdown, Trump's been handing out pardons this week. Let me tell you who's been pardoned. Julio Herrera Velutini, Venezuelan-Italian banker. His daughter Isabella donated $3.5 million to MAGA, $2.5 million while dad faced felony charges. Another $1 million after his lawyer cut a plea deal. So two donations there, large donations to MAGA. The lawyer there was a guy named Christopher Keiss, who's from Trump's from his defense team. Then the other person also pardoned Herrera's co-defender, former Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vasquez, and former FBI agent Mark Rossini, who's a very important figure in everything that Trump does around the world. Many people suspect maybe a Russian asset, maybe, just maybe. They've already pled guilty and have been pardoned away. And then there's Adriana.
He's pardoning people that pled guilty?
Oh, yeah, all these people are guilty. They pled guilty. Yeah, they pled guilty. And they did commit the crime. But this FBI agent is very connected to the McGonigal case, if you remember that from a couple of years ago. Then there's Adriana Cambaros. Trump pardoned her twice. The first time he did this was in 2021.
She must have a ton of money.
She does. So her first counterfeit in 2021, she was put behind bars for a counterfeit 5-hour energy scheme. Imagine that. Then she got out and started doing a different fraud. This time she was buying goods at discounts and then claimed that she sold them in Mexico and then selling them to the United States instead. Bank fraud, really.
Can I ask you a question about the fake 5-hour energy? Was she selling the 4-hour energy? Because
no one knows, because
or was it the 6-hour energy?
No
was
one
she
knows
like, okay, this
really
is a 5-hour,
inside.
but you'll get 6?
I have no idea. No one will ever know because it was fake. If it was real, it would have said.
I got news for you: the 5-hour energy scam is all fake. Same with the great night's sleep. If you can buy some type of sleeper energy aid at a gas station, it probably doesn't work.
It probably doesn't work. It's totally true. Listen, there are so many criminals that are being pardoned, and they're all really, really wealthy, and all have basically donated to Donald Trump in some way. So there is a way out of jail. If you get there in America, you just have to pay the president. And that is the number 2 story. The number 1 story is, of course, the biggest story of the day, which we've been talking. Ooh, what happened to me there? I got little. Is Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday? Fear not, great people of Minnesota. The day of reckoning and retribution is coming. He's not talking about just retribution. This is not just war talk. He's actually planning to invoke the Insurrection Act. Tanks in the streets, military checkpoints. I said this earlier. Soldiers with live ammunition enforcing curfews on American streets. That is what's coming. That is what the Insurrection Act actually means. And people, just use it as a term. They think, oh, well, it's just a tool the president can use. It doesn't just mean that. It means the military is going to be used against you in the streets of America in order to keep you.
If they agree.
If they agree, yeah, they have to agree. But, there I am.
But you're 100% right. It's checkpoints. It's fucking Nazi Germany, 1933 to 1945.
I don't know if they need to agree. I think you can just invoke. I think if he invokes it, they have to go. I think so.
I think if he invokes it, it's got to pass a certain bar. He can invoke whatever he wants, as you see. Generally speaking, it takes a while for the judiciary to catch up to it and go, wait, what? What? Okay, put that on my desk. They put it on their desk 2, 3, 4 weeks later. So to your point, he'll do whatever he wants to people for a solid 3, 4 weeks before the law actually catches up with him, if it indeed does, because he's the person agitating. He's the person causing the agitation. He's the person delivering violence. It's him. Nobody else. Nobody else.
They're arguing. Stephen Miller is arguing up and down on every station you can even. They'll interview him that these guys are leading an insurrection in Minnesota. That the governor and the mayor are
a fucking lying
leaders.
Sack of shit. Stephen Miller is Minnie Goebbels. He's
that.
fucking making it up.
We all know that. The truth of it doesn't matter. The reality of it is that is what they're spinning, and they're getting enough action on the streets to really bring in the military, which people have to take really seriously. I don't think he's joking about this. Now, he might back down, but he won't back down if we don't take it seriously. So everyone needs to call their Congress people, call their senators, do whatever it is you need to do to make sure that he doesn't evoke the Insurrection Act. Because really, that's not a good look at all.
You know what you need to do, people in Minnesota? Unfortunately, nothing. You cannot give this guy what he wants. But I'm starting to get the impression that it doesn't even matter, even if they don't. And they haven't. They have not given him what he wants. They have not become violent. They have been largely very peaceful protests, very fucking peaceful. And the only violence comes from one side of the aisle, and that's Trump's side. That's the ICE side. That's the fascist side. So to your point, we could admonish people, we can tell them, but we're at a point where, the people of Minnesota are the hardy people. And if they pull the Insurrection Act bullshit in the state of Minnesota as a beta test for what they want to do around the midterms, man, oh man, that's what civil wars were fucking born from.
Exactly. Now, there is a silver lining out there. And that silver lining is that everyone can read the opinion polls. Trump's immigration policy is now polling at 31%. That is not very good for a guy who ran on immigration, and especially amongst independents, which are really turning away from him about his immigration crackdown and ICE's involvement in that. And there's now a new Cook political report out today that says that 18 different seats are leaning now Democrats in the next November election. So that is what's fueling all of this. They know they're in a hurry because they've got to get it done before the elections or they're in trouble, but they may not have the political runway to do it. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing in the next few months is that battle between real politics, real opinion polls, and their desires to become dictators.
And foreign governments are going to feed into this. Listen, China and Russia desperately want Trump to remain in office, like desperately, because if Trump falls, it all falls.
Mm-hmm.
If Trump goes down, Russia goes down. If Trump goes down, Venezuela goes back to the Venezuelans. If Trump goes down, Greenland, forget about it. So to your point, this is going to be full court press. People of Minnesota, people of the United States, keep your fucking heads on a swivel. Better judgment all the time. Make sure you use better judgment all the fucking time. It's one thing to protest. It's another thing to agitate. It's one thing to stand in between, ICE and your migrant neighbor who's totally legal and you're protecting them as they go door to door going, come out wherever you are, immigrant. That happened yesterday, caught on tape in Minnesota as well. So, be very, very careful because you are in the crosshairs and this is the reckoning. Donald Trump isn't kidding. Donald Trump is not kidding. Every time that Minnesota continues to do what Minnesota should do, which was act in their best interest, Donald Trump gets angrier and angrier because he's not getting what he wants because he can't trigger the Insurrection Act. So That still doesn't matter. What matters is you keep yourself safe. You do exactly what you're supposed to do. You record everything, and do not put yourself or your family in harm's way. Do not do it.
That is Dean Blundell from deanblundell.substack.com, and that is the FiveStack today. You've got 25% off on your annual deals right now, I think, on your Substack.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yearly, 25% off. You get that locked in for life. You never pay more than 25% off the yearly subscription and full access to everything we do. And again, going to Greenland, so raising funds is going to be, top of mind over the next couple of days. We're trying to raise about $5,000. If we can do that, great. Individually, by the way, it's about $5,000. Just full transparency for airfare, hotel. That's all economy, and that's staying in bunk beds with my friends Malcolm. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be difficult, but we're going to go over there to do the work of the people. So if you can see it in your hearts to try to donate, try to, and we'll put the GoFundMe raiser up tomorrow. And we'll also put my PayPal stuff up there today if you can help. Great. But more importantly, subscribe. Subscribing is a great way to do it. Plus, you get something out of it as opposed to saying, here's $100, go to Greenland, bring me back the truth, Dean. You get something out of it, including a lifetime subscription if you become a founding member over at deanblundell.substack.com, and you never have to pay again. Plus, you'll be helping us fund our trip to Denmark and Greenland to tell the Danish people and the Greenlandic people that not only is Canada with you, so is Better America, with Malcolm Nance, Ken Harbaugh, Denver Riggleman, and Jacob Karsbo, Danish intelligence. He's going to be our point guy. I feel really secure with Jacob being our guy over there.
I think you should feel very secure. Those guys are all tough guys. They'll do a good job of keeping protected. I'm not sure about you, but the rest of them.
Oh, no, that's why I'm going with them. I might be the tallest out of the group. I might be the biggest out of the group, but I am the least trained out of the group to deal with that kind of shit. So, but if you can do that, great. And everybody go to narrative.org. My friend Zev Shalev's daily narrative newsletter is absolutely incredible. But you've also got your greatest heist feature and some really impactful stuff there. What can you tell us about narrative.org?
Yeah, I'm putting narrative.org's greatest heist away for this week because I'm focusing on the Epstein files. Everyone's been off chasing the Sasha Riley story for the last week. I went back to the Epstein files. Is that real? I have lots of questions, many questions about that story. It doesn't line up chronologically. There's just a lot of facts that don't add up. But it also occurs to me that, there is a lot of evidence inside the actual Epstein files that have been released, which really does link Trump and Epstein together. And people have sort of ignored that because everyone's been focusing on this other story, which may or may not be accurate. So coming up later this evening, my story on what's inside the Epstein files that really does connect Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking and child abuse ring. And we'll bring you that later on narrative.org.
Awesome.
And other than that, I wish you all a great weekend. Have a good weekend. What time are you leaving next week?
I'm leaving on the 24th in the evening. Fly to Iceland, and then we go to GOH, which is Nuuk. Never been. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Malcolm says he's going to have to feed me whale blubber, so I'm a little weirded out by that. Although muskox burgers are delicious, apparently, this time of year. And listen, I got to tell you something. I'm not an adventurous eater. Like, I went to Francis last year for a couple of weeks. I basically ate foam and goo with like a basil leaf on every plate. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? So wish me luck.
You'll be fine.
Wish me and my palate
exotic, and there won't be much choice. I don't think they have like big supermarkets and things there. I think it's more like, you get what you can.
Yeah, well, it's like literally Nuuk is a town of 30,000 people. There's 57,000 people on the entire island of Greenland. There's, I think, 3 bars. There's like 2 hotels. I want to say we might be staying on a ship in like cots. I think
better.
We are. I'm
That's
not.
Better.
I'm out of the planning. I'm good at it.
Yeah,
I'm hoping to. Yeah, I'd like to shoot some things as well. But more importantly, we're going to go and conduct some interviews. So we've got some interviews set up with the Prime Minister of Greenland. We're going to go to Arctic Command. And we're just going to tell people the fucking truth, right? It's very, very difficult because nobody is telling Greenland's truth. Everybody's bartering over Greenland, using them for clicks. We're not doing that. We're going to go with some real heavy hitters, and we're going to bring you the truth from the people in Greenland, what their intentions are. Are they ready to go to war? The answer is probably yes. And the same thing in Denmark. We're going to go there with a package for the Danish people. We're going to tell them that Canada and the United States, Better America, are with them, and in no way is Donald Trump a representation of what America is or Americans or democracy. And we're going to tie that bind together completely when we're there between Canada, the United States, and Denmark, with a series of very important interviews, conversations that we're going to be having with certain media outlets as well. So, again, if you could see it in your heart to become a founding member at deanblundell.substack.com, I think it's $150. You get your subscription for life as well. That'll go a long way, and I'll post the PayPal stuff here as well a little later on today in the fundraiser conversation. Tomorrow we'll do coffee and tea with Lev and Dean, and then we've got Malcolm, Ken, and the crew a little later on in the afternoon. So full schedule here on Substack for you to get involved. And thank you for joining us today. I know this is difficult for a lot of people. I know that a lot of the conversations that we have today are downlifting as opposed to uplifting. But if I can tell you one thing today, is that all the work that all of us are doing, you, us, our subscribers, countries like Canada, for democracy, it's for the people, but it's in like dogged pursuit of facts and the truth. We live in a post-truth society, and it's very, very important to me that we represent our allies, and really important to me that we tell the story of our allies, because unless we're willing to do that, we go back to, pre-Second World War. What's going on over there? Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter because it's not going on over here. Listen, all of this matters to Canada and the United States. Denmark and Greenland matter to Canada and the United States, specifically real Americans and Canada, better America and Canada, because if he can do that to Greenland, if he can do that to Denmark, if he can do that to Venezuela, he'll do that to us, and I'm convinced of it. So let's stand together. Thanks for joining us for the FiveStack today. Make sure you give Lev a quick sub over at narrative.org. And great to see you, my friend. You have a fucking great weekend.
Good to see you too. Have a great weekend, everybody.